Hello, and as always, well, welcome to everybody to the Crypto Club and Digital Assets Weekly Catch-up on Zoom. It is Sunday, the 27th of August, 2023, and for those who've watched these programs before, you'll know we don't really have a fixed agenda. We cover all sorts of things. So if you're interested in blockchain, crypto, DeFi, NFTs, ICOs, STOs, TGs, or any other three-letter acronyms, do stick around. Hope you enjoy this recording. Do click on the like. Do remember to subscribe. Even better is come along to future events. These sessions are open to everybody, novice and expert alike. And we welcome everyone to talk about either the projects that they're working on, news that they've heard about, or if they're beginners, they can come and ask some basic questions as well. We're all here to learn and share. So with that, I can see we've got people joining us. It's going to see who's going to come and join us today. Hey, Christopher. Hello. I'm guessing that is Marianne, is it? And G says, Christopher, hi.
Hi, how you doing, Gary?
I'm good, thanks. How's your week been?
It's been interesting. Just been doing some property renovation for property. So I spent all my time, but now I'm gonna get back into the mode of studying and working with digital assets and work with stuff.
So you're not tokenizing this property that you're working on then?
No, but what you see in the backdrop is being tokenized.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure you can share some more about what that's all about shortly. Just letting a couple more people in. It looks like we're going to have an interesting evening today. Anyway,
Okay.
so thanks for coming on board, and I'll look forward to learning more about that project in the background. That looks really interesting. We've just been joined by Brian. Hey, Brian. You managed
Hello.
to connect.
Hi.
Okay. Hey, great. We can see you, we can hear you. That's fantastic. And it looks like I think we've got Gabrielle's joined us as well. Is that right, Gabrielle?
Hello.
Hey, she always stays off the camera. But I recognize the G with the accent and the Spanish background.
Spanish.
It's always good to see people, though.
Yeah. It's an added bonus. So I have to put my makeup on and everything to be. As I say, I've got a face made for radio. So that's good. And we're joined by BM as well. Who's BM? I'm going to say who.
Hello, everybody.
Hey. Go on. Tell us who you are, BM.
Yes. Just a quick introduction. BM and I are together. We work for Odesis. Odesis is our crypto company, and we would love to share our utility when you guys are open to hearing more about our company. So yeah,
fantastic. Well, what I've actually started is a thing I'm calling "Gone in 180 Seconds." So it's kind of a play. It's kind of a play on the Fast and Furious Gone in 60 Seconds or whatever. That I'm offering the opportunity, if you want to take it, that we will give you a timed 3-minute slot where you can talk about what you guys are doing, but you can't use video, PowerPoint, images. Just talk about it.
Yeah.
If you're up for that. So it's kind of an extended elevator pitch. And then if anyone's got any questions, then they can ask away from there. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
Sounds good.
Well, in that case, then, why don't we go for it? That if I can set my timer, unfortunately, you won't see it on the screen.
No worries.
Well, I'm going to give you a 3-minute thing, and then hopefully you'll hear my alarm go off. And then you can tell us all about who you are, what you're doing, and what the project's about. All I ask is obviously no scams, but that goes without saying. No overly heavily sales pitches. This isn't about, buy my token, blah, blah, blah type thing. It's never going to be financial advice, that kind of thing. But with that, I'm going to give you 3 minutes to tell us all about it. So go for it. The clock is ticking.
Who's gonna present first?
Brian, are you able to?
Yeah, I can read. Okay, so I start now. So hi, yes, we are Odesis. I'm in charge of the business development and relationships of our company, and Bruno here is our CEO. So basically, what we do, we are trading we are token on BNB chain. We have a utility of crypto trading bot, and our team has been working on this for more than a year. And we just released our token 3 months ago, and we have 3x our pre-sale, which is a great success. The purpose of the token is that you invest in the token, and it triggers our trading bot to trade multiple tokens in the market. And all our token holders will be given the dividend share in USDT on their wallet every Sunday. Our utility has been going on quite well. Our wins keep growing and growing, especially Bitcoin crash last week. We caught that trend, and we have successfully made a huge payout to all our token holders. Company has been doing quite well. That we sold out all of our NFTs, generated 50K worth of trading assets that's added to the trading bot. And now you can see from our company, Odesis.co, it's ODSESIS.co. You can check our charts whenever you're free. Our communities are quite strong. You can see that some people dumped, but our community would like to hold more tokens. That means that if you hold more tokens, you get higher percentage of the dividend returns. So yeah,
Got 1 minute.
That's a great success. I'd like to share about our company. We've been always doing face-to-face events around London, and we just did one in Isle of Man as well. Literally with the mission of combating inflation and recession. We want people to earn money as easy as possible without the need of knowing how to trade. No need for brokers. All the bot and the whole system is there for you. And we're looking for specific investors that we can give the technology to, that they can have on their central exchange. You can just plug in on your Binance, KuCoin, OKX, and Bybit, and we don't take any of your funds. We just charge you like a 10% fee. So yeah, when you get the chance, you can check out the project.
And you might hear it's just on 3 minutes.
Nice.
How's that? That's almost as though you prepared it.
That's what it sounds like.
Well, I got just invited like a few minutes ago to jump on here. I was like, oh, I wasn't prepared.
It's all right. That's actually the best sort, I find, because I've done stuff with people who've prepared, and what always happens is they completely mess it up. Whereas if you don't prepare beforehand, you just launch straight into it, and you talk with honesty and integrity, and it kind of works, and that's great. So that's fascinating. So if I was to kind of sum up what I think you were describing it as, it's that you're using a token on BNB chain, and it's linking in with a trading or forecasting algorithm in some way. Is that right?
So we have our trading automated system. So it's a bot basically. It's trading on the Bybit, and every week, every day basically, it's trading multiple tokens in the market, and all the profits get distributed to all our holders. We always have our weekly Sunday payout. If I believe so, we just paid out an hour ago, Bruno.
Yeah, we paid out 8 minutes ago. Can I just jump in a bit of explanation here?
Yeah. And if you or Bruno want to stick in the chat the URL to your website as well,
Sure.
I'll pick that up separately, and I'll include that.
Sounds great. I'll type it in. Continue.
So basically, we built a token on the Binance network. When you buy the token, it's basically a ticket for the bot's profits. Our product is the bot that trades futures on Bybit and Binance. So that's our main product. That is what we build. We paired it with a token in a way. You buy the token depending on how much of a percentage of supply you bought. Let's say you bought 1% of the supply. you get 1% of a dividend tracker, meaning when the bot makes money and pays out, you get 1% of that profits. And when we have taxes go to the bot's assets for trading. So basically, we are pooling money from the taxes, and then depending on how much each holder of the percentage they are holding, he gets that percentage of the payout. So the main product is the bot, and now we are slowly building and almost finished. In about a week or two, we'll be launching private option. So it's going to be a standalone product. You'll be able to connect it to your exchange of choice. So for now, Binance or Bybit with the API, and let it do its own thing.
Cool.
Currently, we are trading with 60K in trading assets. Our last week's payout was around 3.3K, which would be 6.4 ROI in a week. So we are now averaging really good win rates. I can share later on if I'm allowed to some statistics about that. So we are hitting really nice ROIs in the past couple of weeks. Currently, we are in a super early stage. The thing that's gonna probably make us grow much faster is the private option, because we have investors that really want to put some serious amount of money there, and they cannot just go through the token because it would make too big of a price impact. So yeah, that's our main product, and now we are just reaching out to all people that might be interested.
Cool. So thanks for sharing that. I always caveat anything about things like trading bots and that. People need to really do their own research and dig into these things.
Definitely.
And you obviously always have to be careful as well as to whether you're entering into the domain of what in the UK is known as a collective investment scheme, whether you're pooling resources, that kind of thing. So again, I offer to anyone who's watching this, go and do your own research and check the legitimacy on that. But Bruno and Brian, it's great to have you guys here. Really interesting to hear what you're doing, and I'm sure people may well have some additional questions as they come along. We've just had a few more people join us. In fact, Robert, Elena, Anthony, and Eric as well. So we've got the globe covered as well. We've got Eric. You still over in the West Coast? Eric, you still in California?
I'm still in LA. We actually just returned. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, you've not been flooded out.
We actually just came back from 5 weeks in Europe.
So you've not been flooded out or anything then?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
No. That's right. Yeah.
Cool. Hey, excellent. Okay, that's great. So, folks, for those who just joined, I think all of you have been on these calls previously, and we normally have a standard, just general chit chat about anything or whatever. What I'm actually trying to encourage is what we just did then, which a couple of you may have missed, which is where we just had a 3-minute elevator pitch in effect, where the idea is that anyone can talk about their project, their initiative. They've got 3 minutes where they can talk about it. No slides, no PowerPoints, no can I share my screens or anything like that type thing. So I don't know whether, Christopher, if you want to talk about your project, or Anthony, I'm sure you could talk for many lots of 3 minutes about the various things that you're involved in, or Eric, if you want to talk. If you want to go next, put your hand up. That would be great. Eric put his hand up straight away. Okay.
That's put my hand up. That's right. Go ahead, Eric.
Okay.
Well, you can go ahead, Christopher. I talk about my stuff all the time, so.
Well, I'll tell you what, Christopher what was on, and he did say that he'd like to talk about his thing, so we'll do that then.
Great.
Chris will do that, then Eric on to you, and then anyone else. So, Christopher, it's going to be the same rules. You can talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. You've got 3 minutes. I'll set the clock. I'm not clever enough to have a clock on screen yet, so I'll give you a 1 minute warning as to how you're going on that. And the clock starts now.
Okay, hi guys, I'm Christopher Mesa, based in London, UK. I'd like to big shout out to Robert D'Souza. It's been many years since I've seen you, so good to see you on screen, Robert. My background's technology. Worked at London Stock Exchange for 12 years. Got involved in some real early stage initiatives in blockchain. But I'm just going to talk about what's behind me here, the Desert Pearl. It's what I would class as a massive tokenization project in land and real estate that's gonna just recently pre-launched in Dubai, and it's gonna be the 5th project. I mean, after the Al Arab, the Palm, the Burj Khalifa, and the Dubai Mall, this is going to be the next biggest project in Dubai, backed by the Maktoum family and land development department in Dubai. So they've tokenized a large bit of land in the desert to create a desert resort, which is huge, absolutely huge. And what they're doing is pre-selling the tokens, the Desert Pearl land token, and then in the new year they'll be pre-selling the apartments and there's 6-star hotels and all that stuff for the commercial over the next, say, 4 to 5 years. So I'm really excited about this because it means that they've democratized investing in Dubai, where any individual can have a Desert Pearl token to enable them to own a piece of that land. So this is taking blockchain and digital assets to the next level, and the adaptation of it based on this project. So which is huge. And what my involvement is very much from a marketing standpoint, because they're marketing this through a company based in Dubai called Safir Group International, which is a marketing arm of the blockchain, which is called Zenic blockchain. Okay, which is a layer 1 blockchain. So what they've decided to do is become a #1 location for tokenization of assets. So there's other initiatives regarding gold being backed behind the project as well, physical gold. And I'm very much involved in promoting it, but at the same time, from a technology perspective, I'll be looking to tokenize assets over the next coming months and years using various different blockchains. So Desert Pearl, if any questions on that, it's going to be a 10 billion euro construction project, initially starting towards the end of this year, beginning of next year. So when it comes to tokenization, I believe, do I have enough time, Gary?
Yep, you've got 5 seconds.
Okay, so if you need to know anything more about Desert Pearl, anything like that, just let me know. I can send you information.
Listen to that. There you go. Nicely done. Well done, Chris. That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. I suspect as well, with you talking about real estate, gold, assets, that Anthony is bound to want to have more of a chat about that shortly. But what we'll do,
know me, Gary.
but what suggest we'll keep going with the flow, because this seems to be working really well at the moment. So for those who've not seen this before, we're just giving people, if they want it, 3 minutes to talk about either their project, their initiative, or themselves. But we'll go with Eric next, because he was kind enough to put his hand up, and then Anthony, I'm sure you'd love the opportunity as well. So put yourself on standby to be called up. Eric,
actually, before my time starts, I just wanted to comment. You know, it's interesting how many of these massive projects are going on around the world. I mean, if you consider the construction of the bridge, which is now complete to Macau from Hong Kong, it's an absolute miracle of. I mean, the Chinese have been building lots of stuff. Of course, the Saudi Arabians are also planning that huge wall thing right across the peninsula. Right, these are massive projects, and it's kind of interesting. When I was just 5 weeks in Europe, and during that time, I like to read when I travel. So I was reading Steven Pinker's Enlightenment Now. And it's a book where he talks extensively about how everything has simply gotten better. I mean, along any dimension that you choose to measure, humanity has just gotten better. And it left me really with a very sort of optimistic sense. So when I hear Christopher talking about this project in the middle of like literally nowhere, I think, yeah, okay, this, more comfortable living and more people and more togetherness and all good.
Excellent. Okay, Eric, do you want a 3-minute slot then? Do you want to talk about it? Yeah. Okay, so we shall start the clock counting now. Tell us more about what you're doing.
So I'm with a project called Vow, and it is a crypto-based project, but its focus isn't primarily any kind of technological innovation. It's a financial innovation. And what we've done is we've figured out a way to restructure human transactions. So the typical transaction, I mean, we've had them since back in the day when some dude killed a deer and made moccasins, and some other guy had potatoes to trade, right? There was the first transaction. I need moccasins, and I got some potatoes to trade. But the basic structure has always been the same, which is the buyer always wants a lower price and the seller always wants a higher price. So the interests in the transaction are antipodal. What Vow does is it folds them so that the price is no longer an issue. And it does so through a liquidity mechanism. So if you want to sell a pair of shoes for $100 and the market really doesn't want to pay for that, maybe at 90 you find some buyers, and at 80 you find many more buyers, and at 70 you find a huge universe of buyers, which is really how markets work, right? You put an ask out there, and then there's a bunch of bids, and in between the bids and the ask there's a spread, and the wider the spread, you can't find the buyers, and the less liquidity there is in the market. So what Vow does is it basically allows anyone to sell any product for any amount of money. And this seems a bit quixotic, I imagine. But the way we do it is you take, if you're a merchant, you take a credit card charge for $100 on the shoes, but then you discount that price to the customer in V dollars. And
1 minute.
Right.
Sorry,
so the question is
left.
whether. Okay, no problem. So V dollars, to make a long story short, are basically just dollars. They're just issued by someone other than the Federal Reserve, and specifically they're issued by the merchant. They look and feel like dollars. They're acceptable everywhere. They don't change in value. One V dollar is pegged to a dollar, but they have. So we're decentralizing monetary currency issuance in essence. I think that's my minute up.
You've got 20 seconds left. In fact, you could have used it.
So we're operating in 14 countries already. We've gotten India, like literally all 100% of the retailers in India are now on board, in the process of onboarding. We own all of Denmark. We're in South Africa. We're in the UK, really big. And my job is to roll out the Vow ecosystem in the United States. It's a big job, but it's a big country, so lots of potential.
Excellent. That's great. Now your 3 minutes is up. That's great. Okay. Eric, thanks for sharing that. I'll drop Christopher a note as well, but if you've got a website or a link or anything you want to share in the chat, I'll try and make sure that I'll try and, in fact, Robert's on the game here. It looks like Robert's my assistant for the evening. He's thinking like mine's that, yeah, if anyone wants to share any links in the chat, feel free to go with that as well. And I'll include that in the recording to make sure it's covered off. So thank you very much for that. Well, it seems we're on a flow here, and there seems to be a common theme about changing in how we use money, payments, value exchange, real estate. And so, Anthony, it's natural that we go on to you next. Are you up for a 3-minute chat about what you're up to?
You can shut me down at 3 minutes. You know how I like to go on a bit.
As always, I'll give you the warning at 1 and then the warning at 0. Oh,
okay.
Okay, good.
5, 4, 3,
2,
okay.
1.
All right, guys. So CEO of TPX Property Exchanges, and we've been working on a very long-term project, started about 6 years ago with the regulators, with the Bank of England, a few others, to get a top-down regulated approach to creating property certificates that give you 24/7 liquidity on the title of property trading on those public exchanges that we create. So the headline is we're creating 20 exchanges over the next 18 months, property exchanges. They launch in different jurisdictions. We tend to follow English common law because it gives very solid rights to property. But the key thing for a lot of the property guys is it's not about creating a bigger shop window for the real estate, which is the usual thing that most people do when they try to tokenize property. It's all about bringing global liquidity to the local asset. So it's a markets approach, bringing global liquidity to your house, your IPO. You IPO your house on a public regulated exchange with the regulators, with the land registry, with the other participants. Even the tax guys are in here. And it allows people to make their property 24/7 liquid. What does that mean for most of us? You take a title certificate with the liquidity engines that we built into this, and you can buy your Starbucks coffee using a slice of Singapore. And so in terms of where this goes, our view on this one is property is an inflation-resistant asset. If you can create this type of 24/7 liquidity with the asset, you've de facto created an inflation-resistant form of money itself. And we think that's a very timely product. We knew this was going to happen. This decade of inflation was going to happen. In 2016, we sat with central bank data. At that point, we had privileged access to it. We modeled this out very carefully. We knew the financial and the fiscal and monetary policy that they were using was no longer going to be effective in a high debt economic cycle. And so we built an asset-based economy based upon property, which we all know, love, work in, live in, et cetera, and allowed anybody to be able to do this. So it's property on your phone. It's designed for anybody with a mobile phone anywhere in the world. Download it, put it on your phone. Yes, AML KYCs, get yourself up there. £5, buy a bit of London, Singapore, Miami, New York, LA, you name it, cities at a risk that we've got on our systems, and effectively use that to buy Gary's coffee that he's drinking right now. That's it. Open the question.
You've got 30 seconds, so throw it in.
I know, but I want to give enough time for everyone to take pot shots at me.
I'd love to connect. I think you and I should have a long conversation.
Well, I was going to bring Christopher in this conversation because he's got his project out in the Middle East, and the question I've got for him as a discussion point. So I'm not trying to score points on anybody here, guys.
Yeah.
Is just liquidity. Is a lot of the projects that come up. It's okay, we're tokenizing it, we're putting it on some sort of layer one, off we go. But how do you get the exit? How do guys create the secondary market by which I'm in now? I have a way to get out. A lot of these guys, you can get in, but you can't get out. And that's the problem.
Well, with Desert Pearl, the thought around creating the market and the liquidity is all about, if you want to buy an apartment, 50% of the purchase has to be done in the Desert Pearl land token, and then 50% in obviously normal fiat over a period of time.
But what happens to the Desert Land token then? How is that monetized? How do people use it on a day-to-day commerce basis? Or could they?
Well, I mean, a lot of it's initially based around the allocation of purchasing one of the, say, 1,000 properties that they're going to build on that actual complex.
Yeah.
So obviously, property in Dubai, in the luxury end, goes into the millions. So they're creating a demand through using minters that you only could purchase through the marketing arm of the company, which is Safir.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone who wants to buy a property has to actually purchase one of these land tokens. But that's for apartments. Obviously, there's 6-star hotels, events, and so forth. So they're going to tokenize the properties, the hotels as well. But it's in the early stages at the moment. So,
do those tokens generate any revenue, for the holders?
I think initially the thought is to create a utility in purchasing their properties, but I think there's going to be an ongoing utility as token holders as part of the resort. So we're still in early stages. The white paper will be coming out for it very shortly, so you can see exactly how many tokens will be allocated or minted on circulation and the utility behind it.
A lot of these, it always comes down to we watch a lot of real estate plays, a lot of companies creating tokens for their properties. The challenge I've got, broadly speaking, not to your specific project, is a tokenization of a building does not a market make, is the way I like to express it. A lot of people get into these. There might be value there, and there might be secondary uses, but does it have global use? Can you take take these tokens and use them broadly? Do they have a real-time market value? Are they visible? Are they trusted, transparent? Are they backed up by governments? Et cetera.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously the Sheikh and the land department in Dubai are backing it. I think the initial backing of the asset, they are looking to add a physical gold aspect to it. So we're in early stages. It was only launched about 2 weeks ago.
I don't want to put you on the spot on this.
Yeah. So
it's a broad comment. I'm happy to have anybody else. Gary, you're usually pretty good on this stuff to comment on this one. because it's for us looking at the global audience and the tokenization of digital asset or real world assets, getting the digital effect or the tokenization effect, because it always comes down to the on ramps, off ramps, the trust, transparency, governance. Is it real? I can tell you a fantastic story about an invisible statue that was tokenized in Italy. That made the guys 50,000. They lost it. They found it. They kept making money every time. It never existed though. But the markets love arbitrage, and so they kept trading it up. And so, it's a question of real world assets and the broad economy, not the narrow economy that quite often we can live in crypto land.
Yeah,
it's the broad economy and how do they engage in that digital asset journey.
I mean, that's a good question, Anthony. And coming onto this platform and obviously bringing it to the wider audience, Desert Pearl, the ins and outs regarding the tokenomics and the utility needs to be fleshed out. But from my perspective, what they're looking to do in Dubai is to democratize investing, because when it comes down to the palm and large scale property projects, it's only for a certain level of wealth that can actually participate. And so they're looking to
point, just as a broad discussion point. I mean, we're dealing with I better be careful a little bit. I suppose I can say this. The Qataris, the Qataris have a very large sovereign wealth fund. That's I won't name which fund. They own 29 billion of property in London. The main reason they wanted to tokenize is that they wanted to put these into a transparent form, well-governed transparent form, because it's sovereign wealth fund, and they wanted all their local guys to see what they bought with their money. So it was transparency. And what we were really surprised at, they couldn't give a stuff about liquidity. What they wanted was transparency more than anything else. And that surprised us a bit. So there's different motivating force sometimes when people look to digitize their land registry or digitize their assets in one form or another. But it still always comes to one thing, and that's the trusted, well-governed, transparent aspects of it. And exactly the status of each of those digital assets at any given moment in time and their condition. And inevitably the double accounting stuff, et cetera, who owns what, is always utterly clear. So if you can give that to the broader public, then you're starting to create a real market.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And that's the whole selling point or the USP of blockchain technology, is to have those things available for trust, transparency, provenance, identity, all those things that we don't have now, and it's what's needed for investment and for clarity and trust, which is the whole point of.
Well, certainly what we're seeing a little bit here from our down, we're top down in terms of the way we're deploying these. We're deploying them in concert with governments and their various agencies. So what they want is that transparency. What they particularly want is new tools for their monetary and fiscal policy, because the current ones don't work too well, to put it simply. And that's where we're getting enormous traction right now, enormous traction with them right now, because they're very much hunting out for new tools, new ways of things to do things. UK's got some benefit because, as far as we can see, Sunak wants as a legacy that he's done something for the economy, and it's kind of hung his hat on the digital asset space. We'll see how that one works out. Politics and business don't often mix well, so count your chickens before hatched.
So I'm going to throw one in here because I'm conscious we've got a lot of people on the call, and it's great to hear various things and that. So it's fascinating again, the way all these projects are going. And that I just want to quickly take it back to the Odesis team. Actually, just quickly ask, just for verification, really, in terms of your bot and that kind of thing. Does it involve the opportunity to do trading on things like real world assets? So which is a massive growing area with NFTs at the moment, or is it just mainstream cryptocurrencies?
Not yet. At this moment, not yet. We're solely focused on cryptos for now. And we're testing many different crypto tokens that we can do. Later on in our roadmap, we're focusing on Forex, other areas to trade with. But for now, we're really focusing on improving the technology, the strategies on the cryptos. Once we've sharpened our blade, we would further expand on different areas. For now, it's all about the technology and building the tight-knit community that's one of the reasons as well that we prefer the face-to-face people. We want to show that we're here to stay. We're here to we're real people and to be trusted as well. Plus, we're speaking to quite big, important people that we can add value to their company. Perhaps, for example, like adding utility to your project, we can perhaps discuss on that.
Okay.
So.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to clarify on that because it's nice to loop these things back. And one of the great things about these kind of sessions is that you end up connecting people with people about various stuff. So talking about people, I see we've been joined by a couple more. Got Wilford, who's come and joined us. Haven't seen you for a few weeks, Wilford. Nice to see you coming back. And we've got Lady HTJ as well, whoever Lady HTJ is. So I don't know, Lady, you want to come and say hi?
Hello. Good evening.
Hey there.
I got the link through Christopher, so I thought I'd join in to listen and find out a little bit more.
Fantastic. Well, if you're just here to listen, brilliant. Listen away. If you have any questions, probably the easiest thing is just put a hand up in the chat or whatever. That's great. Well, thanks for joining us, and Wilford as well.
Thank you very much.
Wilford, you were here a few weeks ago. Welcome back. Do you want to say hi to everybody?
Hello. I'm glad to be back on the call. I work closely with Chris. We're working on the Desert Pearl project together. So I haven't been on for a while. I've had a few personal issues I had to deal with, but I'm back on the call, listening, trying to gain my knowledge on the digital assets and blockchain technology, just get as much information in my head as much as I can.
Excellent. That's good. It sounds like Christopher's turned into something of a connector. So I know the feeling where you start bringing people in and all that kind of thing. And so talking of connectors as well, Robert, the world of WoW, as I would describe it. Do you want to quickly reintroduce yourself, Robert? Because you were on a week or so back, and I think you brought a couple more people on since.
Yes. I collaborate. I look at different projects. I've been very blessed to meet some very powerful cutting-edge technologists, scientists. So I work in a very holistic way. The WoW brand developed as a process of finding the wisdom from each particular project and see, is it a sustainable, ethical model which has got legacy? I'm focused very much on legacy foundations because I met Christopher about 20 years ago working with in the telecom sector, and I saw how that particular sector transformed. We hardly had the internet, was very slow, and we are the first company to have free calls in the UK. So I knew how things were evolving, and I've always been interested in developing and meeting innovators, disruptors, and I've sort of got a big list of people who are cutting edge in different technologies. So the WoW factor and the WoW brand is working with people like Brian and others we have met, is teaching and perhaps educating the next generation of leaders that we are now moving into a space of collaboration. The days of competing against each other are over, and we have to have best practice, but focus on ethics, sustainable models, and legacy projects. So that's what I'm doing at the moment, is looking for the right partnerships globally. And we have investments, large investments. We deal with a $1 trillion company who are focused on this trading side. And we now acquire companies like real estate companies. We have acquired the second largest company in Germany. And a lot of these companies are now moving to the blockchain because they realize that that's the way that the business is going to be conducted. Everything has to be, accounted for. And the old world of doing business, with creative accounting that the banks do, those days are over. So I'm very excited to be part of this team and learn from each person here as to what, in terms of how can we add value to our community.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Robert. It's interesting, but blockchain, I keep describing as it goes round in cycles of like new hypes and all this kind of stuff. And one of the interesting ones originally about blockchain was the whole transparency piece. That was really promoted as, that's why we're going to use blockchain, because it gives visibility, transparency, blah, blah, blah. And it just didn't work, because at the time, most companies weren't ready for transparency. Whereas now, I think more and more they're beginning to realize that there are societal benefits or commercial benefits. The challenges that the auditing industry is going through right now, where you've got big four auditors who are getting a lot of trouble because they're not spotting things that they should be, or they're masking things, means there's a drive towards transparency. And I think, again, Anthony and I both, I think we both know Jason Myers, is it, from Audit Chain, who's not on the call today. He has been on a previous one, but Jason's very strong about putting auditing financials on a blockchain, so you've got visibility and transparency and everything. So I think, Robert, you're right that the whole thing about transparency and visibility is really key. So wow, that's a lot of things covered in a relatively short time.
It's a holistic model, because one of the partners, one of my strategies obviously is, I always say to people, you can have all the money on the planet, but the most important thing is your health. Your precious health is wealth. And so I work with scientists, because I travel a lot all over the world. I just got back I spent time in Toronto, Boston, and just got back from Portugal. And my goal is to train a coach about 1,000 ambassadors. They're going to be more like caring digital nomads, okay, basically using the best of the best. And so basically what we are trying to do is trying to make sure that the wealth gap, that the people who are rich, understand the power of sharing, not just acquiring and hoarding, which is what's going wrong with the current system. Is they're not interested in perhaps sharing the wealth in an ethical way. And there's enough money, there's enough food for everyone. But what I find, that's the reason we are setting up foundations in Africa and India, is teaching the people, not giving them a fish, but using education to teach them how to fish. Okay, so my focus is over the next 3 years is travel to more countries around the world and setting up schools and foundations to collaborate. That real businesses, that's how business should work. But sadly, the business agenda at the moment is what's in it for me instead of what's in it for us, and most of the models, if you look at how the wealth is acquired, and including the banks, the majority of the banks, they don't share any of their profits with the community. So I like the collaborative, cooperative movement that's taking place that allows the little guy, at ground level to participate in what the blockchain and the metaverse is going to deliver, thanks to AI.
We're throwing the buzzwords in there a little bit, but yeah, I get what you mean on that totally. Cool, fantastic. Luke, I was going to open it up then. If anyone's got any comments they'd like to add or any questions, now's the opportunity. Either dive in, put your hand up, or go for it.
So I like the idea of sharing, but there's a consciousness problem there.
Yes.
Right. We need to move up a level to understand that the greater benefit or the benefit of the community also means self-benefit. Because at present, we come from a scarcity-driven model where the reality is that it's things cost, right? I mean, if you want to eat, you have to put something in the ground and you have to water it and you have to collect it. All of that costs a tremendous amount of effort, and many years the planet comes around and it rains too much, or it's dry, or it kills your crops in various ways. And so when you finally do have that piece of corn or apple or whatever, it's mine, right? I worked for it, and I'm not sharing it because I'm still hungry. So we come from hunger, right? And how to transition to a world, especially as we move, as the concept of wealth moves towards something that is much more liquid. And even for that matter, the concept of labor, It used to be, the model had been, at least during the Industrial Revolution period, was time for money. You show up to work every day, you make a set salary, and you better be able to eat or live on that salary, and you don't have a whole lot left over. Nowadays, some kid goes on YouTube and makes $1 million because he's got 1 billion followers for some silly thing that he did, right? And all of a sudden, the whole concept of wealth making, of the creation of wealth, transfers from physical goods to attention, human attention. And so now it's easier to make the argument, well, you made $1 million, so share, give a little, right? I mean, all of the billionaires that we have today have sort of reached those levels with this new paradigm. You create a machine that then just generates money. You know, look at Bezos, right? He created Amazon. Amazon's a great product. It solves, I mean, it found a huge market because it's easy to use. It brings tremendous value to people, and he made a ton of money. But, you know, how do you have the conversation with him that he would benefit if he empowered others, if he enriched others as well, right? That's a hard conversation to have, in my view.
Anyone got any other thoughts around that? It's got quite a profound, in-depth conversation, really, isn't it? Where we're talking about quite fundamental constructs, and it's
yeah. I mean, so charity. You know, I mean, we have a tradition, at least in the Christian world, of charity, right? And I think you can appeal to the billionaires on that basis, and it has been relatively successful. I mean, the charity contributions across time in the last maybe 100 years have risen dramatically. But the thing is, it's kind, you know, it's been driven by monetary policy, because if you give to charity, then you get to write it off the taxes. So it means it's not really a philanthropic endeavor. It's really a tax-driven endeavor, right? It's a cost savings kind of endeavor that the government, for political reasons, want to encourage, and that can only go so far. What we need is a way we need a proper comprehension of why it makes sense to share, and I don't think we have it, right? I mean, I haven't seen very clear, a very clear and cohesive explanation of why sharing makes sense. Now, I'll finish my thought, Brian. The Pentagon is a really, really smart organization. Administration after administration, the advice to the new president has always been the same. If you want to reduce the threats to national interests around the world for the United States, the answer is to make investments in places. Because when people are living better, when people are well, there's no insurrections and there's no issues, right? No one, of course, ever listens to this advice. It's excellent advice. It works, right? We know empirically it works. But no president is ever interested in a situation where he can't have war. Wars are great for the military-industrial complex that, you know, the president answers to. So I think this is one of the things that we need to focus on, sharing in terms of the perspective of the Pentagon, making everyone better so that there is more for everyone.
So, Erica, I'll go and cut you on that, because I see Anthony's very keen, and I'm sure he's not going to say go and read Confessions of an Economic Hitman, which I can recommend, and it gives you a different
I read. It's a great book. Yeah.
Anthony, sorry, back to you.
Yeah, we did some work on this stuff, so it's a topical conversation. We did a lot of we looked at this and looked at how ownership of assets, increasingly in a fiat debt-based economy, they tend to aggregate at the top. So you get your 1 or 5% increasing their wealth, greater ownership of assets, inevitably getting more money from the assets they own. Assets beget more assets, and so on and so forth. So you get this aggregation effect, and this is a common thing over the last 2,000 years of economic history when we looked at this. And so how do you get that ownership spread and distributed more evenly. And you've heard me earlier on this channel talking a little bit about asset-based economy. And if you get an asset-based economy where anybody can buy £5 with their mobile phone, and the ownership of the asset, that building, that industrial plant, that road, that toll bridge, that wall in the middle of the desert, so to speak, all of these, if you start to have a greater common ownership of that, and that common ownership has a utility value to the financial industry, then all of a sudden the asset that you have in your mobile phone becomes very valuable to them. One of the things we noticed is that when people used to put their mortgages up to the financial industry, so to speak, the bank, and say, okay, I want a mortgage, I want to buy that house. The mortgage, the financial industry is making 11 to 25 times the face value of that mortgage within 3 days of you signing it. Now, you paid a premium each month for that mortgage, and they didn't share any of that with you. And that's a perfect example of how the financial system is taking advantage of those who don't understand or educate themselves fully about how it works. Digital asset economy has an opportunity for us to spread the ownership of that and make ownership not in a socialist point of view, but in a capitalistic. Effectively, it's a reinvention of capitalism, but with a greater base of ownership and greater access. The access is no longer restricted. It allows anybody to buy, who can buy a piece of asset that they can trust, see, hopefully has some future value. From our point of view, we've made some of these Sharia compliant to make sure that it's inclusive, and effectively allows you to share whatever economic benefit that little slice of property, that little plant, that little factory, that little road, whatever economic benefit that has, go directly to the asset owner, not to the financial industry who's leveraged that for their greater interest, but directly to the person who's got it on their mobile phone. To the point where we're looking here in the UK on equity release, that the pensioners, if they have a loan to value, let's say of 25, 30% still on their house, if the pensioners take their house and put it onto some of our exchanges, the value that they can create from their title certificates working for them in the financial industry is so great that it can probably look after their care in their old age. Now, that's a very big social win. We're also looking at aspects where homes are affordable now, because if you understand the value of property in the financial system, then all of a sudden the young can buy their house at 51% of its previous asking price and live in it. And the financial system can have the other 49%. That's fine. But don't make the young pay for it, because they're not getting any benefit for it. Okay. And when you look at these sort of things, you get a little social engineering that has, I would say, a force multiplier effect in our economies and in our social system. So it's something well worth discussing, and for all of us, trying to make the world a better place, keep edging it along as best we can.
I'd like to know more about that, Anthony. Thanks for sharing that. That's really insightful, and maybe we can connect afterwards.
It took us 7 years to work it out, but you're welcome to have a pop. Yeah, by all means, connect with me and let me know.
And it sounds like it ties in nicely as well. We were talking a couple of weeks ago about Africa, and I was saying how it is that Africa does not want access to financial services, because that means it gets introduced to a debt-based economy. What we actually need is something that is introducing them to an asset-based economy, which is exactly as it sounds like you guys are describing. We're all on the same page here. Brian, you put your hand up a moment ago. Go for it.
Yes, I just wanted to share a little bit in terms of my history with my company Odesis, in terms of the sharing part. Money definitely is one thing. It's a little bit hard, though I was thinking more, I resonate with what Robert said about the sharing, caring part, is that in terms of me and my team, we've built our technology from the ground up. Nobody was getting paid at all. We were just very passionate about building a technology that makes earning income as easy as possible. So it's what I'm trying to get to is it's kind of like from zero to something. The efforts that we have, we don't need the money, the resources, and we can share our values with one another, with the teamwork, and you can develop something that's worth of big value. And I believe it's possible. I can see it with our company right now, where we're growing slowly. and our communities are showing that the market speaks itself with all our investors. The technologies just keep on improving. So sharing money is one thing, and also sharing all our skills, our core values as humans, how do we work together, can definitely change the game.
Sounds fantastic. And isn't it great to be part of something that hopefully is going to radically transform the world economy in some ways? But very grand, but it's doable, definitely. Folks, we've got 5 minutes left, and people haven't been put their hands up. But Christopher, did you want to add something back there? Because it sounds very much aligned with what you're working on with Dubai.
Yes, I mean, when it comes down to real world assets being digitalized and being able to offer it to the wider audience, I think from my perspective, that's where, if we can solve that problem for individuals or normal individuals to have access to assets and build their portfolios in a very like I said, transparent and cohesive and ethical way, then many companies will be looking to individuals like Anthony, myself, or people on this call to show them how to do that. When I was working at London Stock Exchange, we were looking at tokenizing capital markets a few years ago. Now they've only just started to do it right now. And so obviously Lloyd's as well with Gary and your experience. But what I feel is educating people and the companies in how to tokenize and how to give value of assets and ownership to a greater audience of people, which will consequently bring a lot of good favor to them as well over the long run. So that's what I wanted to add.
Excellent. And if anyone knows of any companies who need help with educating, then do get in touch, and either I can help directly or I can put you people in touch with other people in that space. Robert, you kindly put your hand up. Go for it.
Yeah, I resonate with what Anthony is doing, because I was a financial advisor for Ambrose Bank, and I worked out the maths of how when people borrow, how much they have to pay back. And I said, this is crazy, and when I also, one of my gifts is following trends. And I was very blessed that I spotted that before the markets crashed in '87, I advised all my clients to move off from the equities. And if they had a lot of debt, to either sell the property, or if they possibly could borrow and put it on fixed. And I'm advising clients to do the same now, because I believe there's going to be quite a crash in the markets. And I always had advise people, do you have a plan A, B, and C in terms of having a cash flow? Okay. And thank God, that now we are in a situation that there are companies who generate cash flow in fixed rates for 2 years. It's like having a fixed rate mortgage. But what I like about the blockchain is what Anthony covered, is the asset value, that how you help people in Africa and India is where they become part of the cooperative movement, where they now have assets and they get some cash flow to pay their bills to sustain themselves. And that model never existed in the past. Okay. So I'm so pleased to be here in this, because I believe that, I don't work with charities. I work with the reason being, I'm not saying all charities are the same, but generally the cost that they deduct from the contribution is quite high. And so I work with their projects where they take 5% of costs rather than, 20, 30, 40%. So for me, I like to work directly at people, with foundations in Africa, because I've got a wide network of connections in Africa and India. So I like people, a hands-on approach with people who are actually not sent from the UK or Europe, but they are working from, people who know the problems in those countries. So I believe the time has come that we can create a more disruptive model where the wealth is shared in nobody minds companies making money. The CSR, corporate social responsibility, is a nice logo that corporate companies use for their branding. and as Eric pointed out, for tax deductions, but really it should be more like a cooperative community social rewards program. Okay, so that's what I'm working on.
That sounds really good. And for anyone who hasn't done, feel free to drop your LinkedIn connection on the chat as well. Folks, we're pretty much on the hour, and it's been quite a fascinating conversation this evening. Eric, were you just going to quickly add
Always.
something there? Go
No. I just wanted to say thank you, and I'm happy to be back. It's been a bit, huh?
So I
Can
think
you guys hear me?
No.
we lost you after you said it's been a bit, and then you went.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. So no, it was a good conversation, and I'm very happy to connect with a number of you here.
Excellent. Well, thanks for coming back, and thank you everyone who's on the call today. Fascinating range of things. I hope we managed to get everything covered off, and everybody had an opportunity to share things. I didn't get to ask Elena if she had any questions, but I'm sure she would have put her hand up if she had up. So that was great. So thank you very much.
Okay, I was just listening. I enjoyed every moment of it. Thank you.
This is great. So thanks everyone for coming along this evening. We do this every week. The format can change, but do come and join us at future sessions. Watch the recording. If you're watching this on YouTube, click like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. And see you all again sometime. Have a great day.
Gary,
Thanks,
thanks
folks.
much.
Take care, guys.
Thank
Bye
you.
now.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.